Welcome back. I did not realize, I don't know if you did, but we have so many authors here in the Texarkana area, well, the surrounding areas, Texarkana and the surrounding areas. And we're going to be talking today to Kathy Bryant, who has, I think she's authored her second book now. And we're just going to visit with her and just kind of find out why she got into writing and what she did before that. So welcome to the program.
Thank you, Sally. It's
so
good to be here.
Good to have you. Okay, Kathy Bryant is your name. And
I was born and raised in Bangs, Texas, which is a small town in the center of Texas.
Okay, and what brought you to this area?
My husband is a music minister, and so when he moved to the area, I came along with
You
him.
came with, well, that's good. Golly. Most wives wouldn't do that. So how long have you lived in New Boston?
We've lived there 14 years.
Okay. All right. Do you like the East Texas area?
I do like the East Texas area. It's much greener than the part of Texas I grew up in,
Yeah,
so it's nice.
Sure, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Well, let's talk a little bit about your background. Now, you were a public school teacher.
Yes. When we first moved here, I tried my hand at band directing for a year in Maud. Enjoyed the school, did not enjoy band directing so much. So I went back to teaching elementary music, which I did that at Hooks for 6 years.
Okay. And you're not doing that any longer?
No, I'm teaching privately, teaching private voice and piano lessons in New Boston, and then working on my writing.
Okay. Now, when did you begin writing?
Actually, I started writing when I was a child. My high school job, in fact, was working at the local newspaper. And then when my children were small, I tried writing novels several different times during our summer breaks and never could get one finished. So once I faced the empty nest, I decided that this was the time. And so I joined a professional writing organization and started studying the craft of writing and wrote my first book, Texas Roads, in November of 2008.
Okay. Now, what kind of novels do you write? Are they romance? Are they mystery? Or?
Well, it's Christian fiction. There is a romance thread in both the books I've written. There's also a little bit of mystery and suspense in the first one, and the second one is more of a drama, I would say. And both books have a little bit of comedy in them as well.
Okay. Now, what was the name of your first book?
The first book was Texas Roads, and it was actually the first book I'd ever completed, and I entered it in this writing organization that I joined. I entered it in their Genesis contest, which is for unpublished authors, and was really just wanting to get feedback from the professionals, the editors and authors that would be judging the contest, and I finaled in the contest and was able to get the book in front of some publishers that way.
Okay. And what is the current book that you...
The current book is the second book in the Millers Creek series, and it's called Path Less Traveled.
Okay. Give us a little synopsis.
Okay. It basically tells the story of a woman who is trying to recover from the tragic accident that claimed her husband's life, and at the same time deal with her son's trauma because he witnessed the accident. And it's basically following the spiritual journey of how sometimes what God asks us to do doesn't seem to make a lot of human sense, and it's based on the verse in Proverbs about trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not in your own understanding, and he shall direct your paths. And so the whole process of the book is learning to let go and to trust that God's got it all figured out, even if she doesn't. So.
Okay. So this is the second in a series, right?
Yes.
So the first one kind of, I guess that's when the accident happened?
Actually, it's the same setting in both books, but it has different characters that are coming to the forefront. In the first book, the two characters, the woman was trying to learn where her true home was. That was kind of the theme of the book, was finding home. And in the second book, two of the minor characters in the first book become the main characters.
Okay. I know right now I'm reading a trilogy of some Christian fiction from our church library, and they kind of the characters come to the forefront each additional the sequel.
Right.
Yeah, they mention them in the first one, and then the second one, and then they take their turns. Now, one thing and I've started reading a lot of books that are in a series and are the Christian fiction. They're predictable.
Some of them are. They really are. And it's real easy, I think, when you're writing a story to get formulaic as far as how you make it happen, and that's always one of the biggest challenges, I think, for writers is to tell a story, get the message across, but do it in a way that's not boring and predictable for the reader.
Well, you know, especially if it's a romance, you know, they're always going to end up
That's
with it.
true.
You pick out the one. Of course,
That's
I'll go
true.
to the last few pages of the book and see who's still alive and kicking at the
right,
end.
at the end. That's true.
Well, tell us about how, say, a day in your life goes as far as your writing.
Okay, it's different depending on the day since I have other hats that I wear, but I usually try to write as much as possible, and usually it's fill in the cracks, you know, because of my private lesson studio. I have to spend some time preparing for that and actually teaching the lessons. So usually it's just as I have the time, and then a lot of times it's in the evenings, or if I'm having one of those nights where I just can't sleep, I've been known to do it at night too. So
Well, I know so many of them that I've spoken with, they talk about, you know, having a thought in the middle of the night and just having to get up and write it down then.
You do.
So, do you ever change course? I mean, have you ever totally
I'm
changed
pretty
it?
much of a plotter. In other words, I want to know when I start the story exactly where I'm going and how it's going to turn out in the end. So I spend a lot of time doing what I call pre-writing, where I'm trying to figure out where it's going. I know there are authors that are pantsters. They write by the seat of their pants, and they'll just take off writing, and wherever it goes is where it, you know, where they take off. But I haven't yet found the courage to try it that way. Even when I plan a trip, I want to know exactly where I'm going and how I'm going to get there. So my writing is much the same.
How long does it take you to write a book?
Usually I spend 3 or 4 weeks doing the pre-writing. I can actually write the first draft in about a month, but then it probably
Golly.
but the hard part is yet to come. The hard part is actually doing the rewriting and making sure everything is fitting together the way it's supposed to. It usually takes me 3 or 4 months to get it into that polished state. So
One thing that I've noticed just of late, I guess as I mature more in my reading, is the way that characters in certain books by certain authors are developed. And I think that's very interesting how you can throw in things just to, and you can just, well, I know her, you know, I know him just because of the way, you know, you just feel like you're a part of it.
Right.
And I think that would be kind of difficult to do, to bring the characters to true life.
Right. In the setting, which is Millers Creek, Texas, it's a fictional setting, I tried to make it where the characters where readers would read and say, oh, I know that person, or I know someone just like that. That's much the same feeling I got when I read Jane Caron's books that were based in Mitford.
Oh, yes.
Yes, and so
Yes.
that's the feeling I wanted to bring to it. And I have had several readers that mentioned that they wanted to move to Millers Creek because they felt like they knew the people, which I
Oh,
consider
yeah.
a high compliment.
Oh,
So,
absolutely,
yes,
absolutely.
yes.
Well, for someone watching that would aspire to be an author, what kind of advice could you give them?
The main thing is study the craft, because I wrote for several years just trying to sit down and write a story, and I would reach a point where I didn't know what should come next. It's actually much more involved and difficult than I ever imagined it would be. So find good books on the craft of writing and study it and apply what you learn to your craft. Another big for me is just pray, because there's a lot of things that have to fit together for a story to come to life, and so prayer is instrumental, at least in my writing.
Well, I'm sure it would need
Right.
to be.
Right.
And that's a good thing. So, all right, anyone interested in your books, I know you have a blog.
Yes.
Okay, tell us what that is.
My blog is called Word Vessel. I basically started it right before I wrote the first book, Texas Roads, mainly to chronicle my journey into the world of writing, but I also write devotionals on there because I enjoy taking a verse that I've read and that has spoken to me and trying to present it in a way that will help readers as well. So I have devotionals on there. I also do reviews of new Christian literature, mostly fiction, but also some nonfiction. And then I have authors that come on to do interviews from time to time to talk about their writing.
Oh, well, great. And anybody wanting to purchase one of your books, is there a certain website they can go to?
Well, they can always visit my website, which is www.millers, www.catbryant.com. That's CATBRYANT.com. And all the information about my books is there, but they can also be ordered online through Amazon.com. If they're into ebooks, they can go to Smashwords.com and download my books onto their e-reader. And then also they can request a copy of the book from their local bookstore.
Okay. Well, Kathy, thank